Day two of OTAs, Miami Dolphins fans. How are we feeling today? It is Ben Morgan of the Fins Up Network. A little bit different compared to day one on Monday, because as we talked about, the media was actually allowed to go in, talk to some of the players, talk to the coaches, actually see what was going on field for Tuesday's day two session of OTAs. Now, with that said, we do have a little bit more content. We talked about how Monday it was. We got a couple of nuggets here and there, but it was watered down. That's OTAs. But I tell you what, let's just say today's OTA session lacked a lot of the headline players, the highlight guys, the stars of this team. And yeah, unfortunately, Tua Tagovailoa was one of those guys. It was an excused absence. We're going to jump into all that here in a second. We do have some news from the day, some more media availability stuff. We've got at least one of the highlights as well that we will be showing here throughout the video. Before we jump into today's action, though, got to hear from you. Your thoughts on how OTAs are going so far, specifically from today's report. Go ahead, drop them in the comments. Get subscribed if you haven't done so already. We'll be back, like I said in the past, after every single one of these sessions, doing a recap. But like I said, hopefully we have more of the stars moving forward because, yes, Tua Tagovailoa was indeed absent. He was attending a charity golf outing for his former head coach at Alabama. No longer the Alabama head coach. That's some words right there that Dolphins fans have heard. I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. Well, now he no longer is. He wasn't lying, I guess. He was attending a charity golf outing that was put on by Nick Saban. So this, remind you, these are OTAs. These are voluntary, mandatory minicamp. Isn't happening till the beginning of June. So this is voluntary, and this is something that was talked about with Mike McDaniel, which it's voluntary. He didn't have to go out of that. Talked about this months ago. So no, there's going to be content creators. There's going to be the fans. Tua, for some crazy reason, is a polarizing player for this team. They're going to try to spin it to say, oh, this is his way of silently holding out. And this is his way of like really expressing frustration for not having this new contract. I can assure you that it is not that. He is attending a golf outing put on by Nick Saban, which multiple players are doing. And Tua was just one, like I said, of many players that were missing from today at practice. Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., Raheem Mostert, Jonnu Smith, who's just with the team. We're talking about guys that just got here that are missing today. Let's not focus on Tua. Like I said, we've already talked about this a little bit too much. Jalen Ramsey, Zach Sealer, Kendall Fuller as well. So yeah, Tua wasn't there. Hopefully we get some of these guys back. Hopefully we get some more of the highlights, the big name guys for these OTA sessions. But no, for today, like I said, a little bit watered down. But as always with practices, the Miami Dolphins did indeed have another player in the orange jersey, and it was for the second straight day a player on the defensive side of the ball, which isn't a bad thing because, quite honestly, today's winner, we'll call him, of the orange jersey was Kader Kohou. And if there's a guy on this defense that we could say maybe took a little bit of a step back or didn't progress in year two compared to year one, it was Kader. And we could say, hey, you know what, this year we got Fuller, we got Kemp Smith, we got Jalen Ramsey. We can let Kader just be his guy in the slot and let him focus on that. Hopefully that's what ends up happening here with Kader Kohou. And now we got Nick Needham, who's doing some cross-training, slot corner and safety as well. But if there's a guy that we could really have step up, take that next level as a previous undrafted free agent. So we're not paying this guy a ton of money. We can get some of these guys to really come in, be these late round picks, these undrafted free agents, and really make a name for themselves. Kader is a guy that we could have step up in a big way in year three here and really get a lot of and just really take advantage of what we can do with this secondary. And speaking of the secondary, like I said, the media was allowed into practice today. Some players were made available for the media, and Javon Holland was one of them. And they talked about the transition from Vic Fangio to Anthony Weaver. And he called the transition a complete 180. So the media followed up and said, you know, what's the difference between the two guys? And this was the quote that he had. It's the fact that he's a good person that makes a difference. Whew. We've already seen Holland take some blows at Vic Fangio. Xavier Howard was doing it. Jalen Ramsey was doing it. This is just one more just body punch right there from Javon Holland to a guy that we don't really need to worry about anymore. But at the same time, it's a kudos. It's a pat on the back to a guy like Anthony Weaver, who we all have high hopes for. And we're hoping the transition from last year's defense to this year's defense doesn't take all that long. But hey, I'd rather have it this way. I'd rather have positive words being said about our guy that we have right now than whatever he could be saying. Like, you know what? I don't like my fit in this. I question how the scheme is going to be coming Sundays when it counts. It's not that. And yeah, it was a jab at Fangio, but at the end of the day, we'll take it from Javon Holland. Let's do an interesting nugget here, because we always talk about what's the Miami Dolphins, what's their advantage? What's their home field advantage? And no, the schedule's not allowing us to really play to this strength, which was the heat, the humidity. But one of our rookies, oddly enough, from Tennessee, not that it's chilly by any means in Tennessee, they get some hot ass weather as well. But that Miami heat, that humidity is real. And Jalen Wright, like that's where the Tennessee connection comes in, noted for throwing up towards the end of the practice session. But hey, that's why you have these practices. That's why we have these OTAs, these mini camps, these training camps. Get these guys acclimated to this weather, because yeah, later in the season, we're going to need that endurance. This is where that home field advantage can come into play. So yeah, a little bit of a welcome to Miami, a little bit of welcome to the heat moment for one of our rookies right there. Mike McDaniel actually had a little nugget today about some preseason stuff, some training camp information as well. And that's the joint practices. We've done them in the past with some of our preseason opponents. Well, he announced that there's going to be joint practices with all three of this season's preseason opponents. We're actually going to do 2 joint practices with the Falcons. We'll do 1 with the Commanders and 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you're new to the Fins Up Network, a lot of times with these OTAs, mini camp, training camps, we'll kind of do some of the headlines like that. And then I'll just go with the positional breakdowns based on some of the reports that we were able to get, whether it's individual plays, performances, highlights, what have you. So we'll just go kind of position by position with how things came in today. And at the running back position, Devon Achane, like we said, Raheem Mostert was not there. So this could have accounted for some of it. Noted for catching numerous passes. But one of the things that I like this, I think it was Travis Wingfield that put it out, caught a lot of passes on a lot of different routes. So it's not like it's just all these dump offs or a quick out right there. The importance of getting this guy active in the passing game when we have Mostert, when we have Jalen, right? When we still have Jeff Wilson, who knows what happens with Chris Brooks. We want to manufacture touches for these playmakers. Devon Achane, arguably a top 3 playmaker on this team with Hill, with Waddle, add OBJ to the mix as well, Jonnu Smith. Like I said, we're littered with playmakers, but the more that this guy can do and getting him going in the passing game, the better. So my favorite part about this, not just hearing that he's catching a bunch of passes, but it's on the numerous routes and ways that he was catching those passes. One report also had Achane with a long completion from Skylar Thompson. In regards to wide receivers, didn't have a ton of news today. Eric Ezukama, though, did get to talk to the media, and he talked about having a moment last year where he thought, you know what, there's a chance I may never play again. And if you remember back to his injury last year, there was a neck injury that I believe it happened back in college right away, and this kind of acted up again. And there was a point in time where he said, you know what, this might be it for me. He did mention that he ended up getting cleared, I think, before the last game last year, but we kind of wrote him off right after that injury happened and knew that it was going to be a long time. But I tell you what, you look at him and how he forecasts in this offense, because, man, he's been a preseason warrior. The dude has been looking great in off seasons in the past. It's just, can he make it happen on game days? And the team hasn't shied away from bringing in that competition, whether it be free agency with Odell Beckham Jr., whether it be the NFL drafts with both Malik and Taz Washington, because this roster in regards to wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, Odell Beckham Jr., Berrios, Craycraft, the Washingtons, like I said, they weren't scared to add around him. So we all would love Eric Ezukama and his preseason action to transform and translate into that regular season. He just hasn't been able to prove it yet. So like I said, going to have his work cut out with him. It just comes to making this team's roster at a pretty loaded wide receiver position. At tight end, I thought it was interesting that Jody Fortson caught the eye of several media members. Like we said, Jonnu Smith was not there today, so maybe that opens the door a little bit for a guy like Jody Fortson. But did see some notes, and I agree with him, that he just adds that bigger frame to the mix while still being an athletic guy. You look at what we've got. We've got a lot of smaller options height-wise on this team that are just fast, quick, and shifty. So we still got an athletic guy in Jody Fortson, but now we're talking about a guy who showed today how athletic he is and high pointing the ball. I guess he had 2 pretty damn nice catches, one of them being that idea where I'm a bigger wide receiver. I can high point a pass. Don't necessarily have a lot of guys that can do that on this roster. So maybe Jody Fortson carves out a little bit of a role for himself in that way. Like we've talked about, it's early. We've got a lot of offseason to go, but good to see a guy like Jody Fortson stepping up when we talked about it in the OTA preview. Will the Miami Dolphins target these tight ends now that we got OBJ in the mix? And like I said, take today with a grain of salt. One, it's OTAs. Two, no Reek, no Waddle, no OBJ. All those guys were missing. So take it with a grain of salt, but good to see that they're targeting him and he's making the plays when called upon. For the offensive line, Travis Wingfield noted that Jack Driscoll he used the word excellent. It's a friendly word. I'll go with it though. He was getting off the ball quick on the snaps, hit some reach blocks, sealed gaps on a couple of nice runs from Jeff Wilson. Another noted block on a run by Jalen, right? That was obviously pre-throw up. Travis Wingfield also noted that Patrick Paul absolutely swallowing up defenders when he has that ability to square up on him. So that's the thing. It's just, can we continue to work on that hand placement, on that technique? And hopefully we're on to something there, because I was actually told that this coaching staff is spending a lot of time with him right now. When they've got the one-on-one time, they're spending time with him. They're tearing him down. They're trying to get rid of his old ways, basically trying to rebuild him with the proper technique, because he's a mammoth of a human being. He has the size. He's one of the most athletically talented offensive tackles to enter the NFL draft, damn near ever. He is, like I said, he's athletic freak when it comes to height, weight, athleticism. Just needs to fix the actual playing of the position, which is terrible. But I mean that in a sound technical way, because even at that size, man, you're going to be able to get in the way. You're going to be fine in certain aspects of this game, in run blocking, in pass protection. But I tell you what, if the refs got an eye on you and your hands are looking sloppy and you're engulfing people and you're grabbing at people, you're a holding call waiting to happen. And that's what we need to fix on this guy, is that hand placement, getting him more technically sound, getting him more fundamentally sound. So we're just building him right back up right now. So good to see that we at least have a positive report from him today. Also, to wrap up the offensive lineman, Aaron Brewer saw working on the side today, not involved in any of the team drills. On the defensive side of the ball, Grayson Murphy credited with the sack, an undrafted free agent during the team period. Travis Wingfield, I thought, noted that Shaq Barrett was included in a sack as well, but I also saw numerous beat writers, reporters saying that Shaq Barrett was actually one of the guys missing from practice. So I don't know if they had it wrong that he was actually there, or if Wingfield just maybe caught a number wrong. But regardless, Grayson Murphy at least credited with a would-be sack. It did sound like Chop Robinson was working off to the side today. Keep an eye out for that. I haven't heard anything injury-wise on that, so we'll keep an eye on that. And then obviously Jaelan Phillips, Bradley Chubb working to the side, just watching as well. We talked about having a highlight video today. We actually have a little bit coming from Anthony Walker, the newly added free agent linebacker. He intercepted a Mike White pass on a ball that he tipped up and ended up coming down with. You'll just see it right here. I can just show you. White throws it up, tips it, catches it himself, instant tackle. But hey, nice little celebration there from the rest of his teammates. But yeah, cool to see one of the new free agents going up and making a play as well. If you tell me about Anthony Walker, I'm going to tell you that we're likely looking at a reserve guy, a backup guy. I don't care. We need these guys to make plays. We saw what happened when Jerome Baker got hurt last year. David Long was fine and everything. He's had injuries in the past as well. Well, what happens when you got to bring the Duke Rileys into the mix and we're in playoff worthy games and actual playoff games? That can be an issue when the depth is tested. So, hey, I'll take plays whenever these guys are willing to make them. We'll wrap things up with the secondary. We talked about some guys working off to the side. Cam Smith, seen working on the side today. Javon Holland, this is some interesting stuff. He actually got to talk a little bit to the media about his contract. And he said, this is one of those quotes as well: if Tua ain't getting it done, I'm on the back burner. I don't know much. I just work here. Interesting words. I talked about this before, but Javon Holland wants to be the league's highest paid safety. Now, the issue with that is he's a great player and everything, but man, we got to pay Tua. Man, we got to pay Jaylen Waddle as well. And quite honestly, I've been told that Javon Holland, he wants to be, like I said, one of the league's highest paid players or at the position. He is seeking north of $20 million annually. Now, what he wants and what he gets may be two different things. And with the salary cap likely improving, that's what we've seen the last couple of years. I expect no different as the NFL continues to grow. All these new TV and streaming deals and everything, we've still shown that we're not necessarily going to overpay these guys. We're playing a little bit of hardball with Tua right now. We let Christian Wilkins walk this last offseason. We let Robert Hunt go this last offseason. Did we want to bring those guys back? Absolutely. Do we want to bring Javon Holland back? Absolutely. But this team has shown that, you know what, we value at this amount. You're probably going to walk if you can't fall in to that amount. And I don't want to see a guy like Javon Holland walk, and we're probably a little bit early to the party on this one. If I'm making a call on it today, though, Dolphins fans, I think we should enjoy this year. I think we should enjoy this year, because if I had to put my name on something, I don't know if we're going to get an extension done. Like I said, we got a lot of talk left. We've got a lot of offseason left. I will wrap it there for today, Miami Dolphins fans. Thanks again to all of you guys that have already gotten subscribed, those that tune in, those that leave comments. I think my son's yelling at me or something right now. So I will kill it right there, Dolphins fans. But until next time, fins up.